Okay, we are live now on Grit and Grace TV. Let's go on in there and share this out.
Yes, share.
We be sharing.
We'd be sharing. And I remember to turn off the audio this time so it doesn't blare.
Right. I've got the tab muted this time, so we're good.
I remembered this time. I'm ready to rock and roll.
Last time when I did that, I just like, I don't know what I was even thinking. I was like, oh, I'm just going to go over here. Oh, bang!
Yeah, that's what I do all the time. Well, we have so many different things to think about. So, but we're good to go now. I've shared it out.
All right. Now I'm going to share this to my timeline. Maybe, if it ever pops up here.
And I'm looking forward to I want input from people. I want input from whoever's listening. People are catching the replay. Well, they can input afterwards, but I'm interested to hear some input from people on communication, whatever kind of communication it is. I want to hear what's tough, and we can offer up a couple suggestions and ideas and maybe a different perspective. And, I've got a couple things written down, and I came across this really interesting article about when you come across a problem in a relationship, it can always be shared back to a time that you weren't authentic in your relationship. So that was pretty interesting. And I didn't share that with you, did I?
No, you didn't.
That article. I'll have to post it on the Facebook page. But it was interesting. It was good. It was 5 ways, 5 signs in your relationship that at some point you weren't being authentic in your relationship. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about communication. So I'll post that on our Facebook page, and I'll put the link in the show notes everywhere too.
Awesome. Well, are we ready to get started?
We're ready.
Awesome. Well, as you can tell, we are just going live now. We got done sharing it, so please, while we're doing this, you can go ahead and share this too. You don't have to wait for us to pause or anything like that. Just go ahead and click that share button. It only takes a second, and I promise you, it won't kick you out. It'll bring you right back. You're not going to miss a thing, I promise. And if you do miss something, just ask questions. We love questions, and the more questions you ask, the better the show is, because we love that engagement. We love that real time. Let's dig into this question and just get the answer out there. Anyways, I am CJ Ripka, and sitting right next to me, well, not quite right next to me, she is in Canada, of course, but it is my co-host, or cohort, as we like to say, Lynn Burnett. Lynn, how's it going today?
Hey, awesome. It's rainy, but it's good. I woke up this morning and was like, it's show day. So all good. Always makes it a great day.
Show day is always a good day. I love being able to get off work and sit down and just kind of relax. And not only that, it gives me a chance to kind of go out and about and ask some questions from some people. And we got I was able to get some answers, which we will cover later on in the show. But for right now, what is this communication thing all about?
That is the biggest pain in the ass, isn't it? Go to talk to your partner.
I think if you look at relationships in general, because this month we're talking relationships, it's wedding month, it's marriage month. Everybody loves to use this month. Now, I didn't. I used July, but June seems to be that most popular month. I don't know why. But the first thing that typically breaks down in any relationship seems to be communication, which that it doesn't take long. People run out of things to talk about.
I think it changes when the honeymoon stage is over, and then it turns into whatever.
Yeah, I don't know if I ever had a honeymoon stage. I think my whole marriage has kind of been honeymoon. So I know. I'm trying to wheat brownie from the kids. Give me a break. No,
Well, if it is good for you, because I think for some people, yes, it's true. I think for some people, yeah, I think they can keep it going and it's like the honeymoon phase. Not that there aren't rocky times, for sure. Every relationship's going to have some times where you're just like, you want to throttle the other person. And then you take a break from communicating so that you don't kill them. So, but that is the most challenging thing is communication. And that's linked to every single thing in your relationship. Parenting can be tough if you don't communicate about parenting. Sex, which is, I think, one of the most important things, if not the important thing in a relationship. Money. I mean, it affects everything. Our show last week, we were talking about things that you should talk about in the beginning of a relationship. Money's a big one. Sex, how you're going to parent, things that you're going to do. What are your future plans? So, I mean, if the communication isn't good, your whole relationship is a struggle. So, but how do you do it? And everybody's different, right? So how do you do it?
I think a lot of couples, when in the beginning they're talking to each other, kind of getting to know each other. There's always these stories that they tell each other about, when they were kids or when they were in high school or when they were in college. All these stories come out, but after a while, those stories run out, and then you start having to talk about the things that are happening in your everyday life. And typically, what I find is, spouses don't always. They're not interested in maybe what you do, or maybe you're not interested in what they do. And it's really hard to find some kind of common ground other than children. Children seem to be the most common ground where communication happens pretty easily. But outside of children, when you start talking about sex, when you start talking about other people and things like that, it really becomes difficult to be able to carry those conversations without the other person kind of tuning out, I think.
I think it becomes automatic conversation. How was your day? What happened at work? Do you know what Bobby did today? Susie didn't get invited. Susie got ignored, and it's, this bill came in, and it's just surface communication. And everything becomes automatic in your day, and then you become like robots, and you don't get into the meat of the communication. Like, what are your dreams now? Especially if you've been together for a while, you change, you evolve, and so your dreams change, your goals change. Like, what do we want to do, and what's going on? And hey, do you want to try something new? So, I mean, I think you have to be aware that it's time we need to talk about us and how are you feeling, and we just kind of think that we know the cues from our partner and what they're thinking by the look on their face, how many times they roll their eyes, like whether they sigh or whatever the case may be. We seem to think that we know what they're feeling, but maybe maybe they are feeling a particular way, but maybe it's a new feeling and it's not good.
And I think a lot of people lose their identity to some degree over time as well. Some people, maybe you've got one person in the relationship that really kind of caters to the other person. They kind of lose their identity over time. So they really don't know what to talk about with the person. They don't know how to approach a conversation with them and with their own agenda. I mean, and when I say agenda, I don't mean like, their hopes and dreams and stuff like that. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So I think some of that kind of plays into it as well, where you have one person that's maybe out doing a job, and that their whole universe is focused onto that career path, and then the other person is just along for the ride. And that person who's along for the ride, I think, has a hard time relating to the things that are going on into the other person's life, to where they can engage in any kind of conversation whatsoever.
Yeah, and I think it's usually the woman, because she's the one that's primarily with the kids and being the mom and chauffeuring them around and dealing with appointments and paying the bills and running the house. I think it's usually the woman that's loses herself, and Yeah, I think you're right. And again, it all comes back to communication. So what's your, and guys are typically the ones that don't really want to talk, especially about feelings. But you, being such an evolved man, are you a talker? Like, what's your stuff? Because everybody's different, right? Like, what's your stuff?
I guess I've never been, I try to start conversation a lot of times. So when I come home from work or whatever, I'll go and I'll see my wife. And that's usually where we kind of try to catch up on what happened during the day. We don't send each other a lot of text messages or a lot of phone calls during the day because I'm not in a career field where I can really spend a lot of time doing those kind of things. So typically I'll come home and I'll ask her how she's feeling because she has a disability and a lot of times she's not feeling very well. So I'll ask her how she's feeling, and that's kind of how we start the conversation. And then from there, I kind of gauge, where, how much more she really wants to say, how much more time she wants to spend with me. Usually it ends like, I'm trying to sleep now. I don't feel well. Go away. So, but I'll joking aside.
But you don't have a problem talking. You don't have a problem talking.
No, I really don't.
That's awesome.
When it comes to the day-to-day stuff. Now, there's so many different areas of communication, though. People break down in different areas, and that can cause problems as well. For example, a lot of guys they want to go out and they want to hang out with their buddies, but they've had bad experiences in the past, so maybe they don't put it, quite honestly. They'll say, "Hey, I'm going to go out with Joe today. Well, what are you guys going to do?" "I don't know. We're going to go fishing." When really what they're going to do is they're going to go hang out at some tavern and have a few beers and, just talk shit between each other. That's, there's a lot of that kind of communication going on in relationships, which ends up breaking down the relationship over a long period of time.
But you know what? I think that is because, that comes from a lot of times, men, you guys will assume that we'll be pissed off. So then you make a story, and then we find out your story is not true, and then we get pissed off. And then but I just wanted to go out with my buddies. The problem isn't going out with your buddies. The problem is in how you relayed the story.
Yes.
So if any ladies are watching, I want you, if you agree if this has happened, say yes. Because that has come up with us a lot. It's like, I don't have a problem that you stopped in and you ran into so-and-so and you went and had a beer. It's that you lied and you told me you were doing something else. So you make me look like I'm controlling or don't want you to do anything or see a friend or whatever the case may be. I think there's assumption there, right? And again, communication.
Yeah, it's that breakdown, though. It's that trust. And really that's what it kind of all boils down to. Is when you open up those lines of communication, you need to trust one another. You need to feel that the other person is going to receive your message and be able to relay their message back to you in a way that you are understanding it. It's really that it's an art form. I mean, it's not just you're not talking at somebody. You're just not putting things out there. So you're just sending a message. They need to receive it. You need to make sure they understand the message that you're trying to send to them. First of all, I think a lot of times there's that perception factor. What you perceive may be different than what I'm intending for you to understand. So,
totally.
Well, until you've asked the questions to clarify whether or not they understand it, you've really got to spend a little bit of time with each other to try to find out whether or not they're really understanding what it is that you're trying to say to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Someone's whistling at you, CJ.
I know. That's Twitter or Periscope or one of them.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And I think there's a lot of assumption made. We think we know our partner so well and exactly what they're thinking and all that. And so it becomes automatic and we don't listen because we think we've already got it all. And like you said, that trust factor. You have to trust. Absolutely.
The funny thing is most great communication in any relationship happens after a fight. And usually those fights happen because of a breakdown in communication. I mean, how many times have you fought with somebody, and then after the fight is kind of calmed down, you kind of gone your different ways, you come back together, you've had some of the most eye-opening conversations in those moments. But we should
You're right.
have those conversations at any time. Why is it that we can't seem to have those conversations? What is it? Is it frustration? Is it fear? Is there something else? Maybe you're not understanding what they're talking about, so you don't know when you're supposed to when it's okay to talk to them about certain things. I mean, why are people so strong on not being able to communicate effectively with their partners?
Well, like anything in life, right? After the crash is always like the best time. In anything in life, hitting bottom is always, we're more open to receiving and listening, and yeah, best conversations ever after you have a massive blowout and you've like thrown some dishes. I've never done that.
Never, I suppose, no. I've never done that either. Usually, well, because I know if I threw dishes, it would cause a bigger fight. So I leave the dishes alone. I learned that the hard way, but I leave the dishes alone now. But, in fighting, we got to understand something here. Fighting is not necessarily always a bad thing. No. Sometimes those fights, now, obviously, if you're fighting over something serious that is literally a relationship-ending event, that's a different topic. But there are some fights that you have that really need to happen because it's showing you that you're not communicating correctly. And when you're able to fight, that's when those things come out. That's when the real issues come out, or the real wants or needs or desires come out. I know of several times where, in the past where there were times where like me and my wife, we weren't really all that intimate because we were just missing each other. I was working at a weird hours. She was working at weird hours. And that frustration, for lack of a better word, that just built up. And then after a while, it became to a point where, well, why are we not doing this? I mean, what's going on? Is there someone else? Is this happening? And it just was one thing after another. Well, without the fight that came from that, we would not have been able to discover that, there's nobody there. We do love each other. And, well, of course, the makeup sex was amazing. So sometimes fights can be a good thing.
Yeah, you're totally right. It's that is absolutely it. When you have a fight, it's usually you've had enough and you're ready. You need to erupt, right? You need to get that out. You need to communicate. Oh, yeah. With my ex-husband, we had a fight once. In the 12 years we were together, we had one fight. And it was like a hell of a fight. But we were both really good at communicating. So that was awesome. And everything. And, we were together young. So that's really kind of odd. But so now, and with my husband now, man, I've never fought so much in a relationship as I have in this one. But I don't know. Maybe we're both stubborn. And I think my ex-husband wasn't nearly as stubborn as I was. But my husband now, we are extremely stubborn. So I think that's the difference. And but it definitely is. You reach that point where you need to talk, where you're not. So something needs to happen. And it usually stems from fear. You're afraid of being left. You're afraid of somebody else. It usually will come from a fear. Are you familiar with, because this is a big talk and it's been around for a long time, that book, The 5 Love Languages?
No, I've never heard of it.
You've never heard of it?
No, never.
Oh, okay. Well, this is perfect then. So I can't remember who wrote the book. I have the book on my bookshelf. Well, I'm not going to dig it out now. So, according to this book, and this is really great because it really gives you some great insight. And for anybody who's watching or listening that hasn't read the book, I highly recommend it. There is a quiz at the back that you can take, but it spells out that we communicate differently in different ways according to the way that we feel loved. Now, a lot of times, yeah, I know, I don't doubt you read it, Angela. It's a really good book, and there's 5 different love languages, and a lot of times we will show love and communicate in the way that we like to receive it, but it may not be the way that your partner can receive it and know that they're loved. So I'll quickly run through them, and maybe you can see. I find generally men a certain way, and usually for men it's words of affirmation is their love language. They like to hear that, thank you, and, thank you for all that you're doing for us, and I respect you, and things like that, right? But so there's words of affirmation. It's sending notes to each other. It's phone calls. It's, saying these words that affirm that you mean the world to me and that I love you and that you're everything and you're my rock and my hero, right? The next one is acts of service. And that is, I'm big on that one. If you come and do something with me, or you help me out, or you do something for me, or even if it's, you brush the snow off my windshield, or you put air in my tire. For me, that's my love language. That's like, wow, that's how I know I feel loved, right? And a lot of times for women, because, hey, you see those memes all the time out there, right? That if you see a man, like that one you posted on our wall about, I know what a woman wants for me to drag her to bed while she takes a nap and I do the dishes, right? Like that's... Yeah. You do something for us, that's a huge thing. For a lot of people, it's acts of service. Then there's physical touch. So Angela says, I love words and my partner loves acts of service. Yeah. And so then there's physical touch. Is it the hand on the back? Is it always holding the hand? Is it, touching your hair? Is it rubbing your shoulder? All those different things. Let's look at this. Read it, CJ.
All right. He said, Todd says, one of the biggest problems I have experienced and observed is why men and women age. Women continue to make new friends after the age of 35, while men seem to become less social and keep a smaller, closer group of friends. Therefore, I don't want to do a lot of the same things that my wife does.
That's true. I think that's true for a lot of people.
And I think that's because of those differences, things like that, it really makes it easy for communication breakdown because, trust me, guys don't necessarily want to hear about what Sandy and Marge are doing down at the salon. We don't care. But at the same time, even though we're not paying attention to you gossiping about what Marge and Sue and Sandy and all these gals are doing, you go out on a ladies' night with your friends and you start talking about the juicy crap that you guys are talking about. Yeah, we're gonna listen a little bit. So it's not necessarily we don't want to know what's going on. We're just very particular about what information we're pulling in. So that's kind of how that goes. Now, the same goes for women, though.
That's interesting.
I go out on a motorcycle ride with my buddies, and my wife doesn't care about what we did, where we went, and all that kind of stuff. I can say, hey, yeah, we went through the canyon, and we did this, and we did that. She goes, okay. It doesn't matter to her.
Yeah.
So, those types of things. Now, if I said something like, yeah, we went out for a ride and then we stopped at the strip club, okay, now her ears are up. Maybe not because she's interested for the same reason why the guys are interested, but her ears are open. They're like, okay, what did you do? So there's a difference in what women and men feel is important in communication. What topics are more important than others?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. to go to what Todd said too, I think with women in the way we age, I think because I think when you have children, our lives change dramatically compared to our husband. Their life pretty much continues the same. They go off to work.
No, I wouldn't say that.
Oh, come on.
I wouldn't quite say not all men. Not all men. There's lives dramatically change on both sides of the fence.
Oh, absolutely. But I think for women, there's that much more responsibility because we are the nurturers and we tend to be there most of the time. And I think it gets to a point where we want to bust out. Like,
but man,
we've
it's
been
really
the cook.
Not play, Jim. It's hard to be playful all the time after you've gone to work. And I'm just teasing. I'm just. No, I know what you're saying though. You're absolutely right. The mother always takes on that nurturing role, and she has a lot of responsibilities that men don't usually take on, like taking the kids to school, making sure that they're doing homework and things like that. So, 100.
Well, and I think for a lot of times the men are outside of the house all day, and the moms are at home all the time, and our world is small. So we need to have that social interaction. We need to go out and have those girls' nights. Because we need to talk to another adult again. And even if you're a mom and you work, when they're young, you're around them a lot. But even if you do go out and work, you're out at work, and a lot of times, if there's something you got to run to school and you got to have the parent-teacher meetings and you have to, and we need that more. I think men are satisfied with simpler things. I think they're happy to just, come home and sit on the couch and just tune out their work day, and they're happy to know that they're there with their loved one and they've got all they need. And I think for a lot of women, it's that needing to be with some other adults and to broaden themselves. It's a real struggle for women when they're children. I mean, I'm not at that point, but I have a lot of friends who've become empty nesters. I've got a few more years left with my son, but they struggle. They really struggle because that has been their world. And then they're left with, who am I? I'm not just a mom now or so-and-so's mom. Who am I? I've been cooking and cleaning and taking care of my family. Now, who am I? So I think it's because the women really need that. So, yeah, we do age differently that way.
And I see that a lot right now, especially with...
Because you're getting older.
Well, not so with that.
We're getting older.
So the communication me and my wife have been having recently is my daughters are within the next 3 years. They'll both be out of the house. My youngest daughter will be going to college after 3 years. And that hit my wife really hard recently. The fact that my oldest daughter just went to visit her school she's going to next year, SDSU in Brookings, she broke down, and we've been having this conversation about possibly bringing another child into the house. So now she, some people call it baby fever. I call it insanity, but yeah. So it's one of those things where some women like my wife, they identify with themselves with being a mother, and that's what they know, that's what they enjoy, and that's who they are. And so the communications that go with that's huge. Personally, I am not the guy at 42 years old that wants to be a father and who's graduating a kid at 60, 70 years old. That's not what I want. However, she is in that mode and so we've been talking a lot about these things. So far, no more children, but
I would never be in that mode again. Once, good. I would never.
But I will say this though. I know that's who she is. I know that's what she identifies with, and I know that means a lot to her.
So do a lot. That's not unusual at all. At
right.
all.
So as her husband, I am more likely to say, you know what, if this is what is going to make you happy, I am going to be happy being a father of whatever, another baby. That being said, it still hasn't happened yet.
Oh, wow. Just adopt like a 10-year-old and then you've only got them for about 8 years. Yes, I know, Angela, it was hard for you. I have so many friends that became empty nesters and it was so, so tough. And here I am talking to my son going, if you ever want to have the life that you want, you need to leave Nanaimo. You need to move out of the city. You cannot stay here. And he's going, why? I'm like, because you will never accomplish what you want to accomplish here. You need to leave. Like, I want you to accomplish why you're here. It's not to be my buddy till I die. Like, you need to go and live your life now, right? Like, I do everything for you, are my number one. But, yeah, I know for a lot of people that's really, really tough. And my heart breaks for them because they're so lost. And, I mean, it's an important job. I mean, it's a freaking tough, important job. And, you know, just think of times in your life where you've been fired from a job or laid up and you're just like, oh, that was my whole job. Or men who retire, right? Like, they are lost. I mean, for a man, that's their identity, is what they do and their work. And they seem to struggle after they retire. Oh, it's the same with being a mom, right? Like, I've put my whole life into this person and now you're gone and I'm not sure how to function, right? So, anyway, I want to finish the last two love languages.
All right.
Did you see yourself yet? Did you see yourself in them yet? Acts of service, words of affirmation, physical touch. Then there's receiving gifts. So for some people, they know they're loved if they get gifts. And that doesn't mean you have to buy a diamond ring or anything like that, you know, all the time, or big expensive gifts. It's little gifts, little tokens of things. And I know, Angela, you get lots of little tokens from your man. And then the last one is quality time. Spend that quality time together. Plan little things. If our partner plans little special outings or special dates that we don't know about. And I know a lot of times a lot of women will wish that their partner would plan a date or plan something and surprise us. So that's the 5 love languages. And I know so what do you think you might be? How do you feel loved and how do you receive it?
You know, I don't know. I didn't hear
Get the book
there that I really fell into.
No,
because I don't need to be, you know, affirmations. Okay, I guess they're cool, but it's not something that I need to hear all the time.
Well, you have a love language. I guarantee it. You do, because everybody does. How do you know you're loved? How do you know? How do you feel loved?
Because she hasn't packed my stuff and put it out on the front.
Yeah. Well, that's a good one. I've got a good graphic. I'm going to post it on our Facebook page, and you have a look, and it has great information on it. And see what one resonates, and then everybody who's watching or listening can go to the Facebook page and look at it and learn, because it's really important, and that made a big difference for me. My love language is not the way I need to give it, because my partner's love language is different. And when he gives it in the way that works for him, and it comes to me, it just it bounces off of me. It's like, yeah, okay. It does nothing for me, but I know it's everything for him because that's his love language, right? Makes a huge difference. I'm telling you. I'll post it on the Facebook page. Have a look.
You know, maybe I just don't know. I don't know enough about each of those 5 languages.
I'll post the thing.
I live here, or I'm good here, or that's me. So that's probably what it's all about. But, you know, there's one of the things that I wanted to kind of touch on tonight. And here's the reason why I wanted to touch on this, is because
thanks, Angela.
So many people, when I ask around where people are having the most trouble with communication, you can about guess where that's at. In the bedroom. Exactly. I mean, I don't know what it is, but for some reason, anytime, I ask people, where do you see yourselves having the most trouble communicating? And the first thing they say, bedroom. And it was like simultaneous. Every couple I asked, it was simultaneous, bedroom. It's talking about sex, talking about, getting intimate, whatever it was, it all came back to the bedroom. And, couple of them, when they said that, I said, well, maybe you need to take it out of the bedroom, go to the living room, maybe the kitchen, wherever. But the problem they all seem to say, have was they don't know how to start the conversation. The hardest thing for them to do was to start the conversation about their sex lives.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fear, right? Fear of rejection. You and I have talked about this a lot of times in talking about the show and preparing for the show. And yeah, I think it's fear of rejection. Yeah. And it's so unfortunate because it could be like even more amazing. I mean, that is that spiritual connection to each other is your sex life, is that connection and when you don't talk about it, I mean, it could be even more amazing. Now, I don't struggle in that area whatsoever. Like,
have you ever though?
No.
Never in any of your relationships have you ever had a problem telling your partner that you want this or you want to try that? Never, huh? Never.
I like it like this. Let's do that. Hey, let's try this. Go get a chair. No, I never have at all.
When I was younger, I had a lot of in fact, there's still certain things to this day that it's not so much that I can't talk about it. It's more or less that I really don't want to talk about it. And it has nothing to do with sex exactly. It's kind of the lead up to. It's, because you want to be able to talk to them and find out, when is it okay? What times is...
Anytime.
Okay, but there are certain things that people have. I mean, each relationship develops its own dynamic over years. I've been married 17 years, and in 17 years, there's a whole lot of dynamics. But at the same time, there's certain things that happen in a relationship that really start not necessarily closing the doors of communication, but they just narrow them up a little bit.
Like what?
So, for example, guys that struggle with ED or other sexual performance anxiety problems and stuff like that, when those things happen, it's not that they're afraid of rejection or they're afraid of what their wife will think. It's they're more afraid of. I don't even know if it's a fear. It's more of an embarrassment, I guess. It's just a feel of inadequacy and things like that.
I think it's a fear. It's a fear that your partner I would think isn't going to look at you the same way.
Sure. But there's those types of communication. Now, like in my situation where when I'm trying to talk to my wife and say, I just don't feel like it. It's not that it's not like I don't want it for, when it happens, when I want sex, I want sex. They're just at different times than what she does. So
you mean there's times you don't?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely. It's not,
wow.
A person doesn't have to have or want sex all the time. So yes, there are certain things that I just don't. I don't know. There's other things on my mind.
It's just odd for a guy. That's all.
It is.
For a guy.
Now, my 20-year-old self would be he would have said the exact same thing. You just, what? What do you mean we don't want sex when you're 42? That person, he died somewhere a long time ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, there's a lot of things. I mean, stress becomes a problem. Stress from work or stress from bills, whatever it is. Stress becomes a problem. And it's just like, I don't want to think about that right now. All I want to do is concentrate on solving this problem so I can reduce that stress. Well,
that example that you gave about, erectile dysfunction, that could be other things too. And that's why it's so important to talk, because that is something that I experienced in my first marriage. And that was very odd. It was like something that all of a sudden was starting to happen. And it was like, what is going on? Like, have I lost my powers? Like, what the hell? Like, what is going on?
Your ability to turn them on.
And it's like, okay, this has never happened. Like, what's going on? And right away, it was like, so I didn't have a problem saying, what's up with this? Like, why is this happening? Like, what's going on? And it was like, well, I don't know. And, we were both sort of, so luckily, because we both didn't have an issue talking about things, that we could both go, like, what the hell's going on? Well, then I find out he was out of town working a lot. And I heard that he wasn't exactly being faithful. I don't know that for sure, but that was a rough patch that we were going through. And I mean, it was about a year after that, well, no, a little bit longer, that he did end up leaving. But I did hear that at that time there was some things going on, and our relationship was strained, and it had never been. And then that started happening. And I had heard that is a sign that, maybe your partner's having an affair. Now, that's not always the case. Sometimes it's a medical thing, but this is why it's so important to talk. And I didn't know that at the time. So There's a personal story. I just got really personal.
Yeah. And, guys, if that is a problem that you're having, if you do have that as ED as a problem, go get checked out by your doctor. Chances are it's a good sign that either you may have a prostate cancer or maybe you have a heart disease. Those are some serious conditions. So, ED, the cause of death? No. Well, the death of your sex life, but it's not. It is a very good indicator that there's something going on that you need to get checked out. It's extremely, extremely serious. And stress. Obviously, stress is one of those things that people experience on a day-to-day basis. Everybody has stress, whether it's because of kids or whether it's because of work, or maybe it's just something that's completely just out of right field. So-and-so's dog got ran over. I don't know. Whatever's causing you stress, learn some ways to manage that stress. Because if you don't manage that stress, that is another form that over time, that will cause you to break down your communication habits with the people around you. What does it say?
Yeah, you're right, Lynn.
Yes. You know what? You're absolutely right. And sometimes, guys, you don't have to feel it. Just, women don't always feel like it, but they do it anyways. So, guys, when you don't feel like it and they do it anyway. Trust me, you'll really, really.
That's right.
How they treat you after you've done something for them,
That's
even though
right.
you didn't want to. Anyhow.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, communication, really, it just so important, like so important. And it can be very vulnerable. You could be, you're I think at any time, doesn't matter how long you've been together, it's vulnerable when you're going to communicate how you're feeling. It's something I've found which has worked very well, and I've suggested this with clients that I work with, is to, if it's difficult to talk, because sometimes it is, you're both sitting there, you both know that you need to talk. Who's going to start first? You don't know how to say it. And it can get difficult. So what I've suggested to clients sometimes is keep like a joint journal and write in there how you're feeling. Because sometimes it's a lot easier if you're by yourself and you write. What is it that you're having a problem with? What is it that you're struggling with? Leave it in a spot. And for your partner, put it on their side of the bed so that they can read it and they can process it and that they can respond rather than react. Because a lot of times that's what we tend to do, right? It's that a button will get pushed and we react and we say something and we can't take things back that we say. And even if you apologize, that person has heard it. and that person has internalized it somehow. I think there was a movie that did that. I never did see it, but I think there was a movie, The War Room. I always meant to see that. I think in that movie, that is similar to that, but I've always suggested that to clients is if you have a hard time talking and you don't know how to articulate, sometimes you get nervous. You can't say things properly. It doesn't come out right. Keep a joint journal, and just when it shows up on your bedside, you know your partner's written something, and you read it and you process it and you write back. And that can help make it easier to start talking. So for anybody that's watching that's struggling with communication, like, try that.
Here's another distractor, right? These things. How often are you sitting at the house and you just sit there and you're on your phone, your spouse is on their phone, your kids are on their phone? I know it happens in my house a lot. So if you just have to be on your phone, put it to good use. Send your spouse a text, whether dirty text or flirty text,
take
whatever.
a selfie.
Yeah, well, careful. You never know how that can get used against you. So, but yes,
That's true.
The phone is one of the biggest killers of communication these days. If you have to use it, just put it to good use. Send your spouse a text, send her a meme, send him some kind of a meme. It's those type of things will go a long ways in opening up other lines of communication as well. Maybe you're at work and you want to have a conversation about something when you get home. Just throw a heads up. Hey, when I get home, let's talk about this. Please remind me. Do it in a way that it's going to open up that communication. If it's something that's awkward, that's a really good tactic to use.
Mm-hmm.
If it's going to be an awkward conversation, I'll send my wife a text a couple hours beforehand, because that usually gives her a chance to kind of prepare herself. So when I'm talking to her, it doesn't seem like it just came out of right field. That's that's probably saved my butt a lot.
There was an article that I saved. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Use it for good. Send, a little message, just checking in, love you, a meme, whatever. There was an article that I was reading that was about you think something about you think you're not cheating, but you do every day, and it had to do with the phones. And I just quickly skimmed it, but that's basically what it was about. Is you're putting your attention somewhere else rather than focusing on the person that's right there that you should be having those conversations with, that could be enriching your lives, that you could be, creating those dreams, future dreams together, that you could be, whatever the case may be, having a more spectacular sex life, or saving for the things that you wanted to save for, whatever the case may be. You have to communicate. You just have to communicate and find the way that works for you. Maybe it's not talking. Maybe it's joint journaling. Maybe, whatever the case may be. Got to talk.
And if you don't know what to say, just flirt with them. You'd be surprised on how well that works. Just go back.
I thought you were going to say something else.
What did you think I was going to say?
Well, actually, I thought you were going to be all serious and say, and if you don't know what to say, just say that. I don't know what to say, but I love you and I want to talk.
Yeah, no, I'm saying if you don't know what to say, just flirt with them. You'd be surprised where the conversations go then.
Okay, that doesn't work for me. That pisses me off, actually. I hate that when I'm serious and I want to have a conversation and you're trying to hug me and kiss me. I could throat punch you. That does not work for me.
Okay, so that's like flirting to get yourself out of a conversation. No, I'm talking about if you're sitting there, she's sitting there, and you want to have a conversation, you want to do something together, you don't know what to say, just flirt. Yes. It'll start a conversation.
Yeah. You're right. You're absolutely right.
Get out of a conversation, though, you'll get throat punched.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because then you just feel disregarded, and that's all you want me for is sex, and that's all you want is sex, and
Wait a minute. Whoa, stop. Go back. Time. Whoa, stop. Okay, so the person that says you don't want sex sometimes, it says you don't want, all you want me for is sex? What the hell are you trying to say? What are you communicating to me right now, Lynn?
No, when I want to be serious and talk, because I like to talk too, then I want to talk. Yeah. It's such a dance between two people, isn't it?
It is. It is a very, well, it's pretty awkward dance a lot of times. But if you can be awkward together, hey, at least you'll kind of be in your own tune, in your own step, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So where can people go to find out more about what's going on with Grit and Grace TV?
So they can go to our website. We have a resources tab, and if there's certain things that we mention or if we have downloads of exercises, we put them on our website. So check back regularly. gritandgracetv.com. That's where you can also ask us a question. If there's something, maybe you're struggling with how to approach a topic, a communication with your partner, or you're having a disagreement and you want some outside perspective, whatever it is, you can ask us a question on our website too. Just click on the Ask a Question tab. It's totally anonymous. We won't know who you are, and we'll give our experience or insight. Maybe we've had a client that struggled with the same thing. If you're struggling, someone else has struggled, and chances are we know somebody or we've gone through it ourselves. So please do that. Hey, Dr. Bruns. That's my life coach instructor. Thank you so much. Great to see you. And gritandgracetv.com as well, our Facebook page, facebook.com/gritandgracetv. We're on YouTube. So if you subscribe to us on YouTube, you'll never miss one of our episodes. And you can find us on iTunes. We are just now approved by iTunes, and you can come check us out there. We'd really appreciate if you would subscribe or, give us a rating and review, and on our Facebook page too, right? We're up to 7 reviews on our Facebook page.
Reviews. In fact, I want to, before we really drop out of here, I want to go over there and I want to read some of these reviews and say thank you to these people because they took their time. Time is the most valuable commodity that we have, and when you share a little bit of your time with me or with us to write a review, thank you very much. A lot. It really does.
I get excited. I message CJ, we got a review, you got to go read it.
So as that's one of the coolest things about the Facebook group is there's so much interaction, there's so much engagement from people all the time. There's things going on, there will be a new message or a new resource posted here and there. And Lynn, she does a wonderful job at keeping that updated on a consistent basis. So thank you, Lynn, for picking up all that slack for the most part. I try to get in there as often as I possibly can, but it's unfortunately not as often as I'd like. So I would like to say thank you to Harold Ray. Thank you for your review. Maria Schmidt, Angela Roots.
Yeah, she's watching.
Sweet. Angela, thank you. You're awesome. Stephanie Leach, thank you. Janet Gilmore, thank you for your review.
Huge supporters. Love you guys. Thank you.
Thank you to Stacy for giving us that 5-star. I know you haven't written your review yet, and I'm sure that's coming soon. I'm going to put you on the spot. I can do that because you're my sister, and your birthday's coming up, so you don't get your birthday present until we get our review.
Oh, I like that.
Right?
Oh, I like that.
But yes, thank you, each and every one of you, for showing up tonight. We appreciate all the feedback that we got. And wow.
And adding to the conversation, and because that's why we're doing this. And Yeah, this is why we're doing it. We want to. Someone has a thought, someone else is thinking it too. You're not alone in your thoughts and your feelings. So join the conversation, and people do, and that is so fantastic. The comments that people leave and how they're sharing, and I love seeing that. It means a world to us.
So until next time, talk, and if you talk 3 times, listen 6. You got 2 ears, only 1 mouth. There's a reason for that. So until next time, you don't have to be perfect to be that perfect solution.
Hey, peace and stay wild, people. Bye.